what's up?
Nothing. Just playing Dracula.
Hey, do you want to play Geek Fight?
Geek Fight? What's that?
It's a new super fantabular game by Diving Dragon.
Oh, really? How do I play?
It's easy, I can show you.
If you want to learn how to play Geek Fight, the first thing you should learn is how to put together a deck. Each deck must contain exactly 20 cards, between 4 and 10 combatants, and no more than 2 cards of the same name can be in a deck. And you can only have 1 VIP of a certain name in a deck. So for example, you cannot have 2 Nostalgia Critics or 2 Angry Video Game Nerds in a deck. This is the play area. It's the suggested way to lay out your game. Each player has a deck, a discard pile, a removed from game pile, a combatant, and 2 equipped items. There are 4 different types of cards: combatants, skills, tactics, and items. The combatants is the card the game revolves around. They're your fighters. Once you're out of combatants, you lose the game. Here we see an example of a combatant. On every card, including combatants, the name is in the upper corner, and there are 3 gems next to the artwork. On a combatant, next to those 3 gems, you see the combatant type, the combatant subtype, and an attribute icon. Also in the corner there's a resource type. To the far right you'll see a sponsor. These are important because some effects depend on the attributes, the type, the subtype, and the sponsor for certain effects. I'll get more into the resource type later, but for now, let's talk about the gems. The Unwashed has 0 resources, which is the blue gem, 3 strength, which is the red gem, and 17 defense, which is the green gem. Resources are what you spend to use items, tactics, and skills. Strength is the amount of damage you do to an opponent. Defense is the amount of health your combatant has. Each combatant has 2 unique actions that they can perform. These actions are spend, which is used to generate resources as well as use certain abilities, and attack, which is used to attack an opponent's combatant. For example, if you were attacked by a combatant with 3 strength, you would subtract that 3 from your defense. Once your defense hits 0, your combatant is discarded. On the other side, if you use Unwashed to attack an opponent, that opponent would lose 3 health, and damage will accumulate over time. This is an item card. You equipped it to a combatant to upgrade its strength or defense. An item that upgrades the strength is considered a weapon. An item that upgrades the defense is considered armor. An item that upgrades both is considered both weapons and armor. The accessory battlesuit has a resource of 4, plus 3 strength, and plus 4 defense. So this card would add 3 strength to your combatant and add 4 defense to your combatant. This would be a tactic. Tactics are cards used to change the game in any way, and they can only be played during your turn. This tactic has a resource value of 4, which means you have to spend 4 either cash or coins, as you can see in the upper corner, to use it. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you play a tactic, its effect happens once during the turn it is played. This is a skill. Skills are very similar to tactics, except for the fact that they can be played at any point during the game, even when it's not your turn. Now let's talk about the last in, first out cube. This is a common method of data processing and computer programming. It's also implemented into the game, meaning the first card you play takes effect last, and the last card you play takes effect first. For example, if player 1 attacks player 2's combatant with the Unwashed, player 2 has the opportunity to play a skill which will take effect first before the attack happens. This cube goes around to all the players and takes effect once everyone's done. Also, as many commands can be added to this queue as the players want. Now let's talk about the resource type. There are 5 resource types in the game: cash, tokens, tickets, bandwidth, and generic. If you spend, you choose how many resources goes into which resource type your combatants can produce, which is in the upper corner as I stated earlier. And remember that your combatants can only produce the resources in the upper corner of their card. Now you can only spend once a round, which means you have to choose how you're going to divide your resources before you play any tactics, skills, or items. So, for example, if you put all of your resources into cash, you can only use items, tactics, and skills that have the cash icon. This goes for all resources except for generic, because any resource type can be used to pay for cards with the generic mark on them. Another good thing to remember is that when paying for tactics, skills, and items, you only need one resource of the proper resource type to play the card. The rest can be paid for with any other resource type. You can also barter, which means if you have an item attached to a combatant, you can discard that item and take half of its resources, round it up, and add it to your combatant. These resources can be divided up in any way as long as the resource types you chose are on the card you bartered. But use these spare resources wisely, because they don't carry over to the next turn. There are also things in the game of Geek Fight called counters. While most counters are card specific and they'll tell you what to do, there are also resource and tax counters, strength and frailty counters, health and sickness counters, and distraction counters. As long as a distraction counter is placed on a combatant, he or she cannot attack. At the end of the turn, one distraction counter will be removed. A health counter will add 1 to your health, and a sickness counter would minus 1 from the health. A strength counter would add 1 to the strength, and a frailty counter will minus 1 from the strength. And finally, a resource counter will add 1 to your resources, and a tax counter will subtract 1 from your resources. In order to start the game of Geek Fight, you need at least 2 players and 2 decks. You start the game by choosing 3 combatants from your deck. You must choose at least 1 non-VIP. After this, you presume to shuffle your deck. Then each player must draw 4 cards. Then players must decide amongst themselves who goes first, whether it be flipping a coin or rock, paper, scissors. Next, each player has to play 1 combatant at the same time, and it cannot be a VIP. Now the game begins. When it's your turn, you start by drawing 1 card. If you have 7 or more cards in your hand, discard all but 6 to the bottom of your deck and draw 1. Then comes the enter the arena phase. If you do not have a combatant in play, you must play one now. After that, you enter the action phase. This is when you attack, spend, or play items. But remember, if you're the first player and it's the first turn, you cannot attack and spend at the same time. After this, you're in the end of turn phase. This is your last chance to play any skills, tactics, or items before the next player goes. Every time you beat an opponent combatant with one of your own combatants, you get 2 Geek Cred. In order to win the game, you either have to get 10 Geek Cred or defeat all of your opponent's combatants. And that's how you play Geek Fight.